Welcome. You've got mail.
Anthony Fantano, or Theneedledrop, aka the best thief in the game, has been doing this for quite some time and has shown himself through different iterations. You cannot tell me that This Was the Plan wasn't the best channel to ever exist during the time period of its inception.
Asshole. I think it was Roosevelt who said, I scored 7 years ago. We should be winning now, scoring now. Put some points on the board now, you dick. That's why I love.
But with doing it as long as he has he garnered some rush? An inability to be insightful and introspective about the music he's listening to? We're here to delve into that right now, with the target of this particular video being 10 Toes Down. He made a video about Anthony Fantano and the way he goes about making content and his music reviews. I should preface this video with understanding that even through the majority of controversies that Anthony Fantano has been through with his reviews, I think it's mindful to understand what it truly means for something to be subjective. Meaning, in other words, I'm talking exclusively about my personal taste. Think of someone like Chime Time. Even though he might not have a great experience with a restaurant based on him not enjoying the food, he still emphasizes you checking the place out.
So basically this is supposed to be honey cornbread, right? Let me just say this. It's definitely not what you think. They drizzled the bottom of the bowl with honey and also coated the top of the cornbread with honey. Also, you know how you eat something when it's out of the refrigerator and it has that refrigerator aftertaste? This is what that tastes like too. It's a piece of shit. And that be it the problem. Y'all charge these egregious prices for this mid bullshit, then getting your feelings when somebody call your out. Shit is crazy, bro. It pisses me the off. But if you're ever in the Silver Springs area, man, check this place out
On your own accord, because while he might not like what they made here, you would, or you might. So with that in mind, I want to see what 10 Toes Down is talking about and how Anthony Fantano is now a certified old head.
Talk about Anthony Fantano. Loved by some, hated by many. My thoughts on him personally, he's cool, he's alright. I just think he's a little out of touch with modern day rap music. And I'd be lying if I said this was a recent realization. He's been losing me since he gave X's album a 2. And respectfully, I do got a little bit to say about his recent reviews. It's 2023, and this man wants rappers to make songs in MLA format. And his recent ratings on these newer age rappers and rap albums are simply being critiqued from somebody who doesn't understand the current state of hip hop. Now before you say music's subjective, what do you mean? This is what I mean by that. We know Anthony grew up in a whole different age of hip hop than the youth, and his ideal image of rap isn't the same as people in our generation.
Okay, right out of the gate, I have a couple problems with how this is framed. With Anthony Fantano's age being brought up at the beginning, as if Anthony Fantano just unequivocally praises older music, and the two representations you use, at least visually speaking, is Jay-Z and Drake. You know that these album reviews are still on the website. You can peruse these reviews to brush up on his opinions on these two particular artists. Like, when you look at the majority of albums that he's reviewed on his channel that have references to Jay-Z,
I'm not on board with this album. I'm kind of feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this. It's kind of safe for him. I'm kind of feeling a decent to strong 6 on this album, as much as it is a Sean Carter album. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this thing. Generally, I just don't really see the hype. I'm kind of feeling a light to decent 5.
They're mostly given a light 5, only getting 4 for a decent 8. I don't know what this perception that he's some sort of backpacker who is mentally praising unequivocally the older generations of music even comes from. Now to discuss Drake.
Part that's really accurate. Yeah, this Drake record is not good. Feeling a light 3 on this one. Feeling a decent 2 strong 3 on this one. Strong 3 on this one. But pretty much like a light to decent 4. Feeling a decent strong 4 on this one. And more so-so moments on it. I'm feeling a light to decent 5. You just constantly sound silly. I'm feeling a light 5. A decent to strong 5 on this thing. A light to decent 6 on this thing. Feeling a decent to strong 6 on this one. Feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 to keep it this well organized as we continue on to his next full-length album later this year. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this.
Well, isn't that a bit interesting? Her Loss, Take Care, and What a Time to Be Alive all got 6s in their ratings. From the views, my guy, from the views. Anyway, that basically means that they got ranked roughly higher than the majority of albums reviewed by Anthony Fantano on his channel, meaning that the majority of projects, or at the very least we could argue that Anthony Fantano more often than not likes Drake's albums and would prefer to listen to Drake's albums versus a Jay-Z album. So far, in terms of research and where Anthony Fantano stands on his positions on newer age hip-hop, I don't think it's even supported by a video, visually speaking.
I actually see eye to eye with him and understand what he's saying, but I just feel as if with modern day rappers, he doesn't really understand what they're even trying to sound like. And anytime he hears something that doesn't sound good to him, he'll bash that artist. Meanwhile, he's rating a project with a whole different rubric than that artist is following. Get what I'm saying?
No, I don't get what you're saying. You can't use a phrase like rubric like everyone is in a universal agreement what that even means. And yeah, he's talking about what an album means to him and why he doesn't like it. That is inherently the subjective nature of making an album review. Sure, we can talk about what an artist in particular is aiming for, or if there was misconceptions about what an artist is going for, and perhaps about those misinterpretations and how they could have affected the viewing or listening experience about a particular critic. But I don't think that's the case here.
Specifically the underground scene, I'm just trying to warn y'all, because the second this dude starts getting really deep into it, he's about to be disgusted with the whole thing. But it's because his rating system doesn't really apply to the underground scene.
When you said the underground music scene, you pointed to people like Destroy Lonely, who I'm pretty sure has around 3 million followers on Spotify, and Ken Carson, who has 7 million followers on Spotify, who are both signed by Playboy Carti. Your definition of a underground act is on average, or on very least on par with your big artists, basically having consistent or at least respectable following on social media. I'm not quite sure what you defined as underground here. Especially when you talk about the new wave, when these people were both signed by Playboy Carti, who released an album that Anthony Fantano thought was alright at best. So I'm not quite sure why you're trying to portray him as someone who would be completely disgusted about where music is headed.
But that being said, though, the highlights here are so good, I can see the general attraction that some people are experiencing with this project. While I can't rate this record very high due to some apparent flaws, I wouldn't be surprised if this record created an almost 808s and Heartbreak type moment, where, yeah, it's not a perfect LP, but the highlights are so bold and are so creative, they'll most likely be adopted by those who end up appreciating this record more for its ideas than its execution.
He even went as far as to say that he created an 808s and Heartbreaks moment, an album so experimental that for those who love it are definitely going to be highly influenced to explore the sounds and moments that are highlights for the project itself.
Stay away from this new generation, I beg you. You created a great channel, you've been reviewing content for over a decade now, but just please cut the underground rappers, or just all the rappers for that matter, that came out after 2016.
Everybody pay attention here, he's using another visual, that's Lil Uzi Vert. Let's go ahead and check out his discography of Lil Uzi Vert.
A decent 4.
3 on this tape. I'm just not really coming away from it with much.
Feeling a light to decent 3 on this thing. Otherwise, I'm feeling a strong 4 to a light 5, feeling a light 5 on this one. One-dimensional their respective styles really are. Feeling a strong 4 to a light 5, not to mention they're just on with some of these hooks. Feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this one.
Now, granted, a lot of these albums did get in fact a 4 or a 3 because he personally didn't like them, but when it came to his Red and White project, he gave it a 6. Something comparable to some of his ratings for a Jay-Z or Drake album.
And Nav for the first time, your reaction's gonna be different than me when I was in high school bumping it with my boys, cause no matter what you put on, we're gonna be rocking with it. So
are you implying that every teenager enjoyed Nav's project and that they would be listening to everything, including Friday? I mean, I guess that could be your palette for your friends, but I don't believe it's just a universally held opinion that everyone thought Nav was the greatest thing in existence.
Start with a mainstream artist, not even an underground artist. I'm gonna start with Gunna's recent tape. So as most of us know, Gunna had to spend a year in jail because the RICO came out. Some say he snitched, some say he didn't. He dropped the tape and it went crazy. The tape was called A Gift and a Curse. That tape was so well received that people put to the side that he might have snitched. Well, what did Anthony rate this project? A 1. A whole ass 1. Even if you hated it, this is at least a 5, bro. What the?
Even if you hated it, it's at least a 5? Actually, no. That's primarily the reason you wouldn't rate it a 5, because you hated it and genuinely didn't like it. I'm starting to wonder why you argue that music is subjective when you're actively not taking into account when you make responses like this. I can understand you not liking Anthony Fantano rating it a 1, but that's no reason for you to go, oh, it's at least a 5. Why? By what confines should it be considered a 5? There's something I feel like is extremely pervading element within this entire video, and by the end of it, I hope that you guys understand why or what that is.
That shows how truly out of touch he is.
But in reality, Gunna actually has some options here. First off, he could say, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. I got out of this thing by the skin of my teeth, and there's now too much baggage and negativity attached to this whole, music thing. I'm gonna start fresh, do something else.
Bro wants Gunna to go to college and pursue a different career. Why would Gunna give up on music? I'm being so real. That's not even a thought of mine when I was thinking what Gunna was gonna do when he was getting out of jail. And because Gunna decided to make music again, this is how Anthony took it.
Wow, that's not at all what Anthony Fantano meant. Notice how Anthony Fantano said that Gunna has options, as in more than one thing. He's saying, hey, these are things you could do, but that doesn't mean that Anthony Fantano desires him to do any of these. Even at the beginning of this video, early on, which I'll play a clip here,
of last year, Gunna was freed from jail after taking a plea deal, which freed him of any charges he was facing in relation to the RICO case that rounded up many of the people from his label Young Stoner Life Records. Most importantly, its founder, Young Thug, one of the most influential rapper-singers of this generation from Atlanta. So of course the fact that Gunna walked, combined with the videotaped interactions he had with the judge in the courtroom, yeah, that has stirred some controversy. People saying he's a rat, he's a snitch, he's pushing plea. Personally, I'll say I don't entirely blame the guy. I think most people would do what he did in his position.
He states that most people wouldn't even blame Gunna for the way he conducted himself in that whole charge.
Rap career for Gunna is too great. He's not gonna do that.
Bro, what? I'ma speak for the youth who grew up on all these artists. Stop playing with Gunna. But he wasn't in high school when Drip Season 3 came out, so I get it. He wasn't getting smacked listening to Top Off. I can't expect him to understand. But aside from that, calling him mediocre, bro, he's had a major hit every year. And I'm speaking just facts. If you look at the billboards, this man has had a song that's had over 100 million streams each year since he's came out. But most people who are fans of modern day rap know that. Yeah, and we don't play with Gunna. But
okay guys, it's rewind time.
Temptation to milk more money out of this mediocre rap career for Gunna is too great. He's not going to do that. Secondly, he could also turn over a new leaf artistically and say, you know what, I'm going to hone my skills, write some legit bangers, just move away from this topic, this subject matter. Look at a guy like Rick Ross. Does he rap every day about the time he used to be a CO? No. Does he rap constantly about what people think about that portion of his life. No, he just does his thing. He focuses on the current, the now, and gives people what they want to hear on his tracks.
And oh, would you look at that? Looks like the way he was using mediocre was his explanation to his subjective experience with Gunna's music up to this point, and had nothing to do with his success, since he follows it up by talking about the refinement of his writing skills, his hooks, and elevating his music, and genuinely staying away from the topics that got him incriminated to begin with. This had nothing to do with his success. I don't know why you're assuming as much, or if you were sent these clips, because a lot of them seem to be completely divorced from their context.
A fan wouldn't even ask from him. But then he critiqued something about him that just didn't make any sense to me.
Much of a vocalist, a songwriter, a sharp lyricist.
His flows really aren't that catchy most of the time either.
Nobody's got flow like Gunna. What does this man mean? What is he talking about? We must be talking about different type of flows.
All jokes aside, for as much music as Anthony Fantano has listened to, I think that there's a lot of merit to that claim. There are over 4,000 videos on his channel about music, dissection, commentary, and review, with 717 of them being hip-hop reviews. I don't think this comes from a completely baseless understanding of hip-hop and music when it comes to flows, particularly when we talk about hip-hop. At the end of the day, if you've watched Anthony Fantano long enough and seen all of his reviews on Gunna, you would just know that he just doesn't enjoy Gunna's music.
I'm really not hearing anything. It's not good. It's like I'm feeling a light 2 on this thing, but Gunna has sort of perfected something here. An album that is impossible to like, but also impossible to hate. Feeling a light 5 on this one. I understand your way around a hook, which I don't think Gunna does very much. You could have a great ear for production, which maybe at that point the beats would kind of be carrying, but you know, I think having a great taste in instrumentals is something, would be something that Gunna could bring to the table, but he doesn't even do that half the time. But yeah, overall, bleh, bleh, bleh. This Gunna album is not good.
He's had a consistent opinion about how bad he thinks Gunna's music has been up to this point, so this shouldn't be surprising for any Gunna fans who are watching Anthony Fantano, at least up to this point.
About Ken Carson and his 2022 tape X that Anthony was not happy about. Now listen, this review really captured what I mean, because in no way do I think he's a bad music reviewer. I don't think that. But like I said earlier, his system, the way he rates projects, is following a whole different rubric than what the youth is looking for in rap music. They have a whole different rubric they're following. And with X being such a highly praised album in the underground scene,
I want to emphasize how Ken Carson is not an underground artist. I'm just taking this moment alone just to say that much.
Expect this grown man to like him. Don't forget, guys, he's reviewing stuff from artists that he just goes to review. He doesn't listen to them outside of that. And of course it's because he doesn't like it. But you gotta understand, these type artists we hear every day growing up if you're in your teens or early 20s, and it eventually just grows on you.
That's an absurd assumption that I don't think you have any information or argumentum to even support. There's literally nothing that supports that notion. You just making accusations now. He doesn't listen to any of the music he reviews outside of the confines of making those videos. I don't think there's any reason to assume that's the case.
Of course it's because he doesn't like it, but you gotta understand, these type artists we hear every day growing up if you're in your teens or early 20s, and it eventually just grows on you. He acts totally oblivious to the fact that hype's a thing.
You know what? Fair enough. If you listen to enough music, you're bound to just enjoy it. Like, there's a lot of radio hits I would never listen to on my own accord. Let's take Nicki Minaj's Starship. I don't personally like the song, but due to my job constantly playing it all the time, eventually at some point I just started liking it. Not because I genuinely enjoyed it, but because I had been subjected to it for such a long period of time that I ended up enjoying it. It's the same thing that people could say about Flowrider. Maybe they don't listen to his music of their own accord, but considering the fact that it was dominating the charts, they just started enjoying it as a byproduct of it being on all the time. Any music can basically be of good or at decent quality if we assume that if you're inundated with it enough, you'll find something to like about it.
Same thing he will call trash. You have hundreds of thousands of Ken Carson fans who will tell you otherwise. Matter of fact, there are fans who will debunk everything he said, and they're bold right because music is subjective.
Wait, you unironically can't say that. Yeah, music is subjective, which is entirely the reason you can't debunk his personal feelings about the project. He doesn't like the project, but there are fans out there who do enjoy the music. That's the beauty of the subjectivity of music. I don't understand why you would preface your video with music is subjective and then believe that Ken Carson fans disagreeing with Anthony Fantano's opinions about that particular music is somehow debunking his arguments as to why he personally didn't enjoy the project.
You just gotta appreciate the craft. I'm not lying when I say he wants these people to rap in MLA format. I'm dead serious. If he only knew how much people nowadays love the auto-tune. Like, auto-tune is so important in music nowadays. I prefer it. But I know somebody who's just 10 years older than me wouldn't have the same opinion.
You're saying this as if Anthony Fantano doesn't like projects with auto-tune in it? What was his recent score for Travis Scott's Utopia?
While it's on, I think it's pretty entertaining. A lot of creative and colorful production across this thing, eclectic features and performances, a wild and dark and diverse album from one of the more aesthetically out there artists in the mainstream. There were definitely some low moments, but it's still a very quality and respectable switch up from Travis, who, I think tried something different here and it mostly panned out. I'm feeling a decent 2-strong 7.
A 7? Okay. And what did he give Lil Baby and Lil Durk's collab project? Oh, he gave it a light 6, which means he likes it? Now, this is the one that's probably gonna boggle a lot of people's minds, but what did he give Yeat's Afterlife project?
Life is Yeat's most creative and versatile project to date, and legitimately neat and daring, even if it's not likely to transcend far outside of the obsessed fan base for this type of music. Feeling a strong 6 to a light 7 on this one.
He gave Yeat's Afterlife project a 7. Not only is this project significant because it's as new age as you can possibly get in terms of the younger generation making music, but he gave it a strong rating, a album that not only uses autotune but uses it in a very creative way. So I don't know what your perception of Anthony Fantano's content is, but it doesn't feel like this is coming from someone who's been watching him all that long. You come across as extremely ignorant about rating systems, and it comes across as the type of thing you would use to dismiss somebody who you don't want to hear the opinion of, as he's just an old head, he's obviously a hater, and doesn't like the new age music. Almost everything you've said so far, I didn't even say it's an opinion to be an opinion. It's been just objectively wrong.
Even some of his comments under these new age artist reactions and reviews, people are even saying, man, you're getting old.
By the way, the majority of the comments are memeing or joking around, with only one comment using the rating of a 0 as an indication for Ken Carson's success. So the comments you found, you either had to really scurry and really comb through the comment sections to even find people that agree with you, because the majority of the popular comments left under that video aren't even close to what is being shown on screen.
Because listen, he doesn't talk about too many underground artists. I'm surprised he made a Ken Carson and Destroy review, but it's because they got the Carti cosign.
Really? Because he's talked about BLU, Lucky, The Cool Kids, Snot, Peso Rock, and Blockhead. All these artists are insanely underground and things that people wouldn't normally talk about when we discuss mainstream music, and are, at least for some of these people he's reviewed on his channel, are less known than the people you're talking about here.
Jace, Sofago, and he starts getting into all these rappers, and I don't even want to think about if he got into Young Fazo, Rich and Mary. There's no reality where he would like this music.
Again, I just want to let people know that these artists are not underground. I don't know what his definition he's working with here, but it's just, what do you mean?
His channel and look what he reacts to. You know, he's not at all a fan of this type of music. You could tell by when he ranks his favorite projects of the year, things like that. He's just doing it because it's hot right now. He has no passion, no understanding of this new age scene. He just
Alrighty then, I don't even know why you start off by saying that. But again, I don't think he's just reacting and making reviews about this type of music because it's popular. He was one of the first people to ever make a YouTube channel reviewing music before it was even considered a profitable avenue to make reviews on the platform. For you to then just accuse him of doing it because it's popular seems highly offensive to how long he's been doing it, and before it was really profitable to be doing it. This is the same person who rated the guy who made Bitch You Guessed It album over Forest Hill Drive, which he continuously throughout that year got shit for.
Light to decent 7 on this thing, Tran.
No, you know what? Silence no longer. You hear? You're not good review with the hip hop because you right now you're talking about just not good hip hop, not real hip hop. You gave this a 7, and then you gave the Jake Colt a 4. You're a jerk face. You're a big jerk, and you don't know real raps.
And more importantly, he was one of the few people who were adamantly defending Lil Pump's album.
Underground rappers, they make music trying to catch a vibe. Like, we're really just getting faded and listening to this music, and we're not listening to it expecting some crazy ass lyricism or some mind-blowing storytelling.
Like as dumb as a jar of mayonnaise, which is something that I personally need every once in a while, and when I do want to listen to something that kind of goes down that road, I am very picky about it, and this tape could certainly be a go-to on those occasions. And even though it flows kind of like a compilation, which in a lot of respects it sort of is, there are more hits than misses here. I'm feeling a light to decent 7.
You can't get more of a vibe, or I'm just trying to catch a vibe, than Lil Pump's album. Something that Anthony Fantano actively went out of his way to defend as a good project. Even one of the most liked comments under that video is pointing out how Anthony Fantano gave Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy a 6 in comparisons to Lil Pump's self-titled album. I strongly disagree with him on that Kanye West album review, but I don't really express it since I haven't looked that video up in quite some time, and I also understand how subjective music taste is. But this is something that people continuously bring up to show how much Anthony Fantano isn't this individual you portray him as. And I think it's substantive enough to show you here.
Anthony, a monotone voice flowing on a beat infuriates him. Bro, I love that.
Which is subjective.
Of a Destroy Lonely fan, a Ken Carson fan. Y'all wanna know who my favorite rapper is? Rilo. But I understand the youth. I understand where the youth hears most of their music, which is on TikTok in 30-second clips, which is why these Ken Carson and Destroy Lonelys blew up, but he doesn't get it.
Does he have to get it in order to find the music enjoyable? That is the million-dollar question we should be asking ourselves whenever somebody makes a review.
These underground rappers, a lot of them didn't have Kanye come-ups where they deadass had to prove themselves. They had to write the hardest lyrics and everybody would be shook. Nah. We ain't doing that no more. You could have just started making music and had your song blow up on TikTok and be thrown in the industry. Rather than OG days, these artists had to go to open mics, they had to sell their CDs just to get their name out there if they didn't have hype in their neighborhood or nothing.
Did he say that Kanye West came up in the game by being one of the greatest lyricists? That is so ahistorical, I don't know how to even engage with that. But if you need a little bit of a refresher of who Kanye West is, he was a beat producer before a prominent lyricist, in quotation marks. Kanye West, for the most part, was a beat producer and got his shine on projects like Purple Haze from Cameron, as well as doing a lot of production for Jay-Z's albums. But He didn't really come into the limelight until later on, where he did show his writing talent, but he wasn't someone who just came on the scene and amazed everyone with his lyrical capability. That's just completely out of touch and completely ahistorical to the upcoming of Kanye West and who he is to the hip-hop staple.
Changed, and we know change in rap means going against what's comfortable, what sounds good, what the mainstream era is used to. And I think just seeing Anthony not really get the vision of a lot of these underground rappers, it really shows you that rap is
Oh my God, Little Tech is not on the ground. What are we talking about?
sounding like everybody else, then rap music would never evolve. But when that change starts happening, there's always gonna be people who instantly critique and judge the sound without fully understanding what rubric that artist is following. That's why I keep using the term rubric.
I think I've shown throughout this video that Anthony Fantano isn't opposed to change, but even external to hip hop, he loves 100 Gex and went to a hyper pop concert.
Music Nerd, it is a rainy Saturday morning in New York City. I last night got back very late from seeing 100 Gex on their tour behind their latest record. Want to come through here, give some thoughts, give some feelings on the show. It was great, thrilling, hard-hitting, mind-blowing. The show was at this spot called Avant
Gardner,
which my booker was there at the time as well and told me that the place is around 3,000 cap.
Experimentation in music isn't something that Anthony Fantano is opposed to. If you make this your job and something you dedicate yourself to on a religious basis, experimentation is probably one of the things you're hyper encouraged in almost all music you listen to. Going back to his Gunna review, one of the things he emphasizes as a criticism is Gunna refining his writing talent. Regardless of how you personally feel about them, he wants it to elevate it to make it a better listening experience for the audience at home. That's not someone who's opposed to evolution. And even towards the closing half of his review for Travis Scott's Utopia, he says Travis Scott took some risks and they paid off, which shows that he is someone who is adamantly for people being experimental, not the opposite.
He also feels the same way about Destroy Lonely, ranking both of his projects a 0 and a 1. Like, you got millions of people streaming these albums who are genuine fans, and he's gonna rate it a 1. Is he really about to sit there and act like all of our opinions are wrong, or is he just out of touch? I'll give you guys.
Okay, I think this is where you're really starting to lose the audience. Well, maybe everyone just enjoyed this video, but you're losing me personally. You do realize that thinking that an album's good, personally, doesn't require that the other person has to be wrong about their own opinion about an album. Literally, I don't understand how you could have prefaced this video with music taste is subjective and dismissed it as an argument, only to perceive these differing opinions as one has to be right and one has to be wrong.
By being able to sing, or have an ear for a hook, or
Interesting production choices. But Lucky seemingly on this record doesn't have that either.
Oh my God.
Yo, we're not about to sit here and act like Lucky doesn't have some of the hardest production in this generation. The production was one of the best parts of the album. It was very diverse, yet all hard. And then back to him stating all the things the artist is missing. A wise man once said, stay in your lane. Why am I about to be trying to play every role? And Anthony wants these artists to play every role, bro. If you want to hear some lyrical shit, go listen to Eminem.
The absurd assumption that just because Anthony Fantano doesn't like this Lucky project, that he would be an avid fan of Eminem, shows you have absolutely zero basis and are completely ignorant of the discography that Anthony Fantano has accumulated purely roasting not only backpack rap, making meme videos exclusively mocking the flippity hippity that muttering way of rapping.
Is going to fade out, and it seems like death to mumble rap will be bringing it to an early grave with middle fingers right in your face. See you later, mumble rap. Wouldn't want to be ya. With a fuck's little pump, I'm kinda hungry. Mumble rappers, get in my belly. Artillery, blowing up your auxiliary. Ha! In the Middle East, no stability. Benghazi Hillary. What? King Kong will probably make a song for Kim Jong Ching Chong? What the fuck? I didn't know we were gonna get like fast racist.
I'm more crazy than a short lady trying to give birth to 84 babies.
I'm more crazy than a short lady trying to give birth to 84 babies. Why? Obviously, it's an unusual set of lines, but it's just so absurdly stupid. Imagine you're at a fucking rap battle and you said that right in the face of another dude. I'm more crazy than a short lady trying to give birth to 84 babies.
In of itself, but also Anthony Fantano has continuously roasted a lot of the most recent projects by Eminem.
Eminem's rap style has gotten suckier and suckier and suckier over the course of this decade. I haven't really enjoyed anything Eminem has done since the Marshall Mathers LP. Musically and topically, Eminem used to really have it together, but these days, not so much.
I don't know why you're trying to portray him as a backpacker just because he doesn't like these particular artists. And through my previous examples, I've shown that he dislikes unorthodox music. I didn't notice it earlier within my own recording, but in the thumbnail of this video, you have Yeet. Yeet, someone I brought up earlier in this video as getting a 7 from Anthony Fantano. You're claiming he doesn't understand the current landscape of hip hop while actively showing somebody on the screen that he's liked a project from. Well, you've done it multiple times, but I never imagined you would actually have them in the thumbnail of your video.
That CLB review, that's where I noticed the division in everybody. Because if you were a new age person, you were rocking with music, man, you thought CLB was fire. Bro, Pipe Down, TSU, Girls Like Girls, Champagne Poetry, all these bangers that I personally love and everybody around me loves. You throw them on, we're all gonna go crazy. There's a whole nother side of people who think that album is trash. And I learned in that moment that there's two sides of hip hop now. And Anthony simply didn't make the shit.
Not only was it a uniquely held opinion that the album was controversial.
What top 5 you smoking on, Kendrick? Cause my top 5 is Drake, 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 Drake.
If we broke it off, then you know it wasn't painless. If she gotta watch, then you...
So I just listened to Certified Boy Lover, and big surprise, it fucking sucked.
On the internet as being underwhelming for a Drake project, but you, mentioned like 6 songs out of 21 tracks on the entire album. I wouldn't consider that a W in Drake's book. I'm just gonna let you know that right now. If I had an album with 21 tracks and you can muster up 6 as ones you actually enjoy, then that's not really a good ratio of songs or for a worthwhile project to continue or return listening to. The video as it continues becomes extremely more myopic. It tries to portray anyone who didn't like the CLB Certified Lover Boy album as old heads and people who don't understand the new generation of music, despite the people you'll be calling old heads being around Drake's age. But with that out of the way, it's kind of bizarre to even portray it as people who are just old heads and that don't understand the new generation. That's so bizarre. That's just weird. I think I'm going to end the video here. I think this video is a misconception of what Anthony Fantano's channel is and what the Theneedledrop is supposed to be. In the description of the majority of Anthony Fantano's reviews, you can find this one statement. You guys know that this is just my opinion, right? It's stated with the level of uncertainty because he understands that there's a lot of people out there that don't understand that at the end of the day, when Anthony Fantano does these reviews, they're just his opinion. And you treat the notion of him expressing his opinion about these new age artists, even if he happened to dislike all of them, he's only speaking personally for himself. Your critiques would only be valid if Anthony Fantano is trying to tell everyone else they're wrong about their opinion, trying to convince everyone else that their music taste is bad, or is trying to speak for anyone else other than himself. Which, with your earlier comment about who's right and who's wrong about a subjective thing as music taste, really speaks volumes about how you perceive the idea of subjectivity when it comes to music. Or at the very least argues that you don't really know what that means when you say that music's subjective, and then coming into clashes with statements like there's a wrong and a right opinion about liking a particular album. But yeah, this is probably my biggest project when it comes to my channel. Hopefully this video does well. 10 toes down, I haven't seen any other video from you, so I won't speak towards the quality of your average uploads. And I would even recommend people go and check your content out, because I think aesthetically speaking, your channel is very visually interesting. This is going to be the last goofy drama video. Usually this is the visual style I use for drama response and goofy videos, but the next video I plan on releasing on the channel is a video essay, a scene on the internet, loop, how they stay on repeat. And that's everything for me, and then a nobody, Android Ari, and I'll see you when I see you.